Good evening. Tonight we're going to discuss the Anuttarayoga, which might give you some basic ideas as to the rest of the lower tantra, so to speak. And the reason why it isn't called lower tantra, that is to say that the structure is divided into 9 yana principles. So the first yanas are being Hinayana of 2 schools and the Mahayana. And then there are 6 yanas of Vajrayana, which consist of Kriya Yoga, Upayoga, Anuyoga, and Anuttarayoga. And somehow that Anuttarayoga somehow brings the basic experience of the rest of the lower tantra. This point. And the question is being that relating with the body and mind speech that we have discussed already in one of the earlier talks. Body, mind, speech are connected with how to relate the phenomenal world, how to relate physically, bodily, relate with the phenomenal world. Not necessarily spiritually as such per se, but just being a man of sanity and man of openness. Almost we could approach the whole process in a very secular way, rather than a purely religious tradition at this point. Knowing, understanding that this approach is based on non-theistic discipline anyway. So as we go on to the further tantra yanas of more advanced levels, that we now talk not only body, not only mind, but we make more emphasis on the speech aspect, which is that which brings the mind into a cognitive level, that which brings the body into an energetic level, that is the speech. The speech, in this case, not only the voice or the verbal description alone, but any audible experience which brings sense of rhythm, sense of movement. In other words, that's the energy, that's the circulation that we are talking about, rather than purely sound alone. That this type of speech we are talking about is basic communication that takes place in a human society. The communication doesn't have to be newspapers, television, radio, speech. But there's a link between you and your body, there's a link between you and your mind. Something takes place constantly. When we talk about a link, it's a link either from the mind or either from the body. That takes place. That kind of a movement and energy, because they call it simply, maybe definite term there is, we're talking about energy. So energy consists of speech, alike, speech type, situation. Not just a speech alone, but a speech type, speech-like situation that exists, interchange that exists, relate with the hearing system, sight system, smelling, sensational system of the body, that there is some kind of interchange that takes place in our life constantly. We're talking about that. That is what's known as energy. That we are not talking about energy as a gigantic worm that suddenly zaps you and you feel electrified. And such expectations seem to be a spiritual version of cowboys and Indians fighting. When there's the local bandit, the bank robber, who walks into the bar, at the swing of the bar door, and suddenly there's tension builds up in the bar. And there's obviously possibilities of gunfight or something rather happens. And we're not talking at that level, even spiritually. But we are talking in terms of self-existing energy that exists in every one of us, experienced that way, that there is not particularly sensational electrified vibration of energy that takes place, which is a very rare moment, if it happens at all. It could happen when you're in the height of your temper, but that's just one of those things that we do when we feel weak. When we don't feel so good, we lose our temper, trying to recharge ourselves. The question of energy here we're talking about is not necessarily the pathetic one that we should do something about it, let us have it do it, hooray. But we are talking about self-existing energy that goes on constantly in terms of purely survival level, that you exist, others exist, therefore there's energy level that takes place constantly. There's aggression energy, there's passion energy, energy of depression, energy of excitement, energy of uncertainty. Such energy level is divided in three sections in the Tantric tradition, which comes from the level of Upayoga onward, which is to say Upayoga, and Yoga, Yana, and Anuttarayoga. That the certain tantric traditions use the same format, some principle of energy. In the terms of Anuttarayoga is concerned, which is largely based on the this point, the model that I'm going to speak is based on what's called Kalachakra Tantra. Kalachakra. Kala, K-A-L-A, which means time. Chakra is wheel. So, wheel of time, in this case. And such principles is based on the three types of energy, which is, I'm sure you have heard before, is that of the Prana, Nadi, and Bindu. Are the three types of energies that we described. In the terms of the priorities, that we begin with Nadi, which is like the channel. That such energy had to have its own system, its own system of journey, and it should have its own path, specialized path, which is Nadi, like a railroad track, that things run on a certain pattern, a certain system. Which is a sense of a pattern that the phenomena world is already creating for you. That at this point the phenomena world is not regarded as particularly magical, extraordinary as such. But the phenomena world is, this point is related as that you personally don't have to set up the system, but the system is already there, that you have built your railroad cabins and wheels, and the railroad tracks already existent at that point. It is been said by Taranatha, one of the Kalachakra Tantric master, that existence of Nadi is like having boiled milk and put out in the cold air, and the milk is sure to form its own skin over it. So the boiling hot milk has learned how to deal with reality by forming skin. That's the railroad track that exists already. In other words, that we have already self-existing world already, that we don't have to talk about trying to find a transcendental world, better world, tantrically suitable world in particular at all. That this world exists as what we experience already, which is the notion of Nadi. And then there's a notion of Prana, which is the metaphor is the prana as being like a horse. Looking for a rider, that horse has to be a good horse and well fed, well strengthened already. Again, in this case, we are not talking in terms of speed, but we are talking in terms of conviction that you're willing to related with that existing world that's been set up for you already. You're willing to go over it. There's a highway already built for you. There's supermarkets built for you already. There's the shopping centers already built for you. There's some kind of energy that part of you is the vehicle, the horse, and the part of you is the rider at the same time. That the part of inquisitive nature, trying to explore the setup of the universe, is the inquisitive nature of mind, which is actually called mind, or sem. The actual mind, the inquisitiveness. The definition of mind at this point is that which responds to the reference point is the mind. So you have that kind of mind, that which refers to reference point is the mind. You're willing to survey, willing to look into areas of energy or whatever. And then you have what's called Bindu, which is the rider on this particular horse, which is certain particular type of consciousness which is not quite the same as the mind, which is purely the reference point, willing to explore. But Bindu type of mind is that mind which relates with a sense of journey. Another word we could say quite safely, when you ride on a horse just walks for you. Horse doesn't take the journey. Horse just moves. And the rider takes the journey. That the rider controls the horse. The rider looks right and left and ahead of him or behind him and appreciates the sight or whatever. So there's the more intelligent version of the mind, which is called, at this point, is consciousness, if you could put it that simple way. I'm sure our scholars would have a lot of complaints about the usage of such word in the random. Nevertheless, how can we afford to go beyond their stubbornness? So, consciousness riding on the mind, going through the energies of the world, is what's amounted to this point. The consciousness is a wake quality which doesn't have to refer to a reference point alone, but has great exposure like radar system, which had to be mounted on some kind of mechanical thing, which is in this case is mind. So in other words, we have a radar system mounted on a wheel, put on a railway track. Goes round and round, round. The radar system goes all the way round and round, but it's on a wheel, which is called Prana, and the radar system is called Bindu, and the rail is called Prana. So we have, in this case, this point of metaphor is concerned, a railroad with the mechanical cranking system that's going on, with the electrified radar systems riding on it, it's controlling its journey at the same time, maybe computerized, whatever. And whole thing is based on the energy at this point, obviously, needless to say. And that seems to be the structure of Tantra, is that in terms of this speech energy we are talking about, is there is a lot of energy, a lot of perceptions that you can perceive your world that way. You take your journey, and from that point, then we begin to transcend such journey of using of the three types of methods, three types of channels, that we go something more than, something beyond than consciousness and mind and experience of the world alone, that we begin to expand ourselves, that a greater openness begin to take place. Unfolding of the flower takes place much greater than that we don't even feel in terms of a journey anymore. In this level of Anuttarayoga, Anuttara is none above. Uttra means above, A means not. So Uttra means nothing above, nothing better. The same as the Tibetan word for lama. La means above. Ma, la met, actually in this case. La means above, met means not. So nothing above. So Anuttarayoga, as far as the lower Tantra is concerned, the highest achievement of all of Tantric experiences. So therefore there is a sense of those three applications of Bindu, Nadi, and Prana are taking journey, cranking up still your machine, your railroad track, on your railroad track. And such practices based on Hatha Yoga experience of some kind and pranayama practices of some kind and a certain concentration, visualization experience. But still there's something more to come than that. Is that of the Anuttarayoga, which is symbolized the monogram of EVAM, that probably you've seen on the cover of Meditation and Action, that symbol of EVAM, the symbol. Transcending Hatha Yoga and Pranayama experience is discovering the existence of EVAM. EVAM. A is the basic accommodation that the level of Buddhahood and level of sentient beings are no longer different. They are all same. Because in this point of view, that naming somebody as a Buddha, somebody as sentient beings, are saying the same thing. Because when you say somebody is a Buddha, that automatically says somebody is no Buddha. Which makes the Buddha is also no Buddha at the same time. Because Buddha had to exist on the grace of somebody's no Buddha. Or the reference point of somebody's no Buddha. When somebody's sentient beings are confused, that we also have to say that somebody is not confused who has the guts to say that at the same time, which also makes that person also confused at the same time. So the question of definition of a Buddha and confused person are at this point irrelevant, which is A level. When you say A, that's onomatopoeic sound, actually, is word, which happens that A is just comes out from your heart. You just breathe out and say A. So there's a sound of opening up that not particular definition, definite reference point. So that seems to be the basic point. So A symbolizes is non-existence of Buddha, non-existence of sentient beings, as either confused or enlightened. Properties, whatever. And having that enormous space, then you have a VAM, V-A-M, VAM, which is in the center of letter A. I wonder if anybody has a copy of Meditation Action here, which probably we could point out how the monogram works. Anybody here? Ah, there are two of them. This one's faster. Can you hold it up? Yeah. The A we are talking about is this outline. The outline is R, which is a space. Then you have V-A-M. V-A is here, Va, and M is on the top, so which makes A-VAM together. And thank you. That's okay. And VAM, in this case, is what's called the seed Vajra holder principle, which sounds more samsaric or more something not quite kosher. As we discussed about the A. But nevertheless, how it seems things to work together that way. That VAM is the son, A is the mother. So when you have a mother, you have a son, and that might mean that the son and the mother are separate, they are conflicting with each other. But the VAM principle is that energy exists within A, of non-duality, non-samsara, non-nirvana. There's still basic energy exists. Real basic energy exists. Energy exists because that there is a sense of holding certain particular experience, a certain particular discipline, certain particular openness, that if you have too much of A, you could space out and you couldn't find anything anywhere. And you don't have any disciplines. So A with the VAM brings a discipline within A, the spaciousness of A at the same time, brings together. So that's the central monogram, if we could call it, or the central yantra, if you like to call it, which is a kind of a basic symbol of Kalachakra Tantra. So, having had already the three disciplines of Nadi, Prana, and Bindu, and then you have a sense of openness, and then you have a sense of one-pointedness with in concentrated energy as a VAM, V-A-M, which brings a notion of indestructibility and notion of one-pointedness at the same time, within the openness of the spaciousness at the same time. And one of the basic points of the Anuttara Tantra is that one is able to use any form of hallucination that one experiences in ordinary everyday life, confusions, or any echoes that one experiences rather than hallucination, actually, that's a better word, echo that existed in one's life. That one has doubts of some kind, one has twin questions, double questions of one's life, that there is experience and questioning again. Did I or didn't I? Anuttarayoga brings all those trips that goes on with one's mind. Am I or aren't I? Did I experience or didn't I experience? What? Maybe something is just about happened to me. Maybe not. And such chatterings of mind takes place all the time in our state of mind, which has never been questioned, never been actually, so to speak, legalized in the lower Buddhist teachings of even Hinayana and Mahayana level. Such questions being ignored, such tentative exploration of our discovery has been ignored, has been also, come on. If you have any questions, regard them as your mind. Just say it's your mind, you're just confused, just come back to your practice. But in the case of Kalachakra Tantra is concerned, allows such confusion, is a legitimate confusion, in fact a very potential thing that you have potentialities of becoming enormous, successful, if we could use such a word, a tantric student, that because you have such creepy questions about yourself, double thinking, double hearing, double vision are legitimate. They are already included. The first vision is a VAM and the second vision is A. So once you say a double vision, the first vision is sharp and then there's a shadow around that, that's the A. Like you see EVAM in the symbolism here. That's exactly the same process. That you have a sharp one first, then you have a shadow around that's A and a VAM you're seeing constantly. And that's the part of the basic approach, that allowing such doubt and including that doubt is part of your progress, in fact. That seems to be possible, and that is the basic point of the Anuttarayoga. And we have to go on talking further, but probably since we have only one talk left, maybe we could discuss next time. Questions, please, if any.
Do the yogas involved in Tantra involve any sort of movement, like the yoga being taught here? I think it's Hindu. The postures, are they involved in these types of yoga?
Well, that is regarded as a preparatory preparation. In fact, rather than the big deal at this point. And particularly in terms of Anuttarayoga is concerned, that the physical Hatha Yoga practices regarded as a preparation alone, so that you have a chance to see how your Bindu and how your Prana and how your Nadi, thank you, works. Rather than that is the whole thing. The idea from Anuttarayoga's point of view is concerned that you can't crank up enlightenment by body alone. Which brings another question, actually, that great tantric achievement, like the level of Dharmakaya is concerned, that such achievement is not regarded as such height of athletichood.
From things you said before about definition of speech, it seems to include some kind of emotions and things we'd normally think of as mind. Can you say more about that? Is mind in this case more an enlightened attitude and speech kind of confused thing?
Well, the notion of emotions at this point is concerned. It's emotions no longer as emotions as like losing temper and being falling in love to somebody particularly. But emotion at this point is self-existing texture that happens. The texture of your railroad, the texture of your wheel, the texture of a radar, that there is a lot of emotional things. It becomes more of the structures of the mandala rather than that of a particularly big deal. Somebody's making a big scene anywhere. It's self-existing emotion which creates the temperatures and geography and which creates the structure of a mandala at this point. And the mandala is, this point also should be pointed out to people, actually is not just a diagram that we've been told by Jung and such like. That you, gazing at a diagram going to enlighten you is entirely wrong approach, I'm afraid. The mandala is just a map that has been drawn to how to visualize three-dimensional mandala, which is like mandala is a plan of a house where deities lived in. They dwelled in. It's a building, actually. As a square building with the four doors and the circle around. Outside there is channel ground. Outside there's a ring of fire. It's area view of a building. And people live in it. And those occupants are those Tathagatas of the five Buddha principle type of people. Enlightened state of being. So the structures of mandala, such like the channel ground, is your emotions. And the pillars goes up, the walls goes up, your state of creating like the notion of Nadi. You're creating Nadi. The solidification of your emotions are made into a structural setup of mandala. And the fluid aspect of your emotions are made into colors. And environmental aspect of your emotions are made into deities. So you have a completely built your mandala structure out of your emotions, that you mold your emotions like a dough. You shape them, you put them into a structure. So that seems to be one of the interesting points about Tantra is concerned. It's caution of that in the Hinayana and the Mahayana level that you just make a reference point to emotions. But in the Vajrayana, that you begin to pick up emotions in your hand, your bare hand, begin to knead them on your table, begin to chop them, begin to make them shape, begin to cook them, eat them up. So it's a very personal experience from that point of view. I'm glad you asked that question.
Can I ask another one?
Okay.
Could you describe preconceived ways of relating to life as Nadi?
Could I what?
Would preconceived ways of relating to life be described as Nadi? Sort of patterns of what you expect of the world, not necessarily true ones.
Preconceptions of...
Like fitting people into patterns of what you expect of them, that sort of thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow you.
As Nadi. Like patterns along which your relationships are going to go.
Yeah. Well, I think that question is actually an experiential one that we can't really talk about in terms of descriptions, because once we describe more, then it becomes the prana. Because when we discuss more about it, it becomes more energized. And as far as Nadi is concerned, that there is a sense of you can't escape from your railroad track. In some sense, you'll be destined, actually, that you have to follow the intersections and you have to follow the patterns of the railroad. And if you have any expectations or preconceptions of that particular type of Nadi, that you want to remold yourself, and actually you find yourself too late. That either you face a derailment or stop the whole thing, which means you're not going anywhere. So I think this point of view, the principle of Nadi is very helpful, that the road is prepared for you already, that the phenomenal world is shaped for you already, that somebody has already set up the sacred shrine, and the Sangha is gathering already around you, and you are middle with your Vajra master, and you'll be told to take Samaya vow. That's going through your railroad, that you have no choice, and somehow you find yourself being caught. Sorry, you're going to say something? Go ahead.
Okay. If I understand you correctly, then there's an attitude at the level of Anuttarayoga toward doubt and frustration and confusion that sees them as containing a lot of potential, with a sense that it might even be profitable to follow them, to see what they're about. As one who's at much more of a beginning level, I'm wondering if you might say that a similar attitude is appropriate toward doubt and frustration and confusion at the Hinayana level or the Mahayana level.
Well, that's possible, yeah. There is obviously room for that, which then is called suffering, pain. And beyond that, then there's, in the Vajrayana level, it's more of an actual doubt than actual pain. So that's how you view it, how your attitude change it. At the beginning, your doubt is, completely, totally terrifying. And once you work with that terror already, begin to work with it and begin to share it with the rest of the people, then you begin to find a true doubt, which is still very tough. Then that's transmitted in tantric level.
Thank you.
I must say that Vajrayana really scares the shit out of me. I would like to know how to avoid getting into it.
Well, it's a difficult thing to avoid. Well, particularly if you're trying to avoid. And that seems to be avoidance, as we say. And one has to walk over it, and if you get across it, then that's okay. It's like following the Vajrayana path is like going through what you call those things, rope, bridge, tightrope thing. You just, if your right hand survive, then trying to rest your left leg, and then left hand rather, and then trying to use your left hand, hold a good grip. In the meantime, trying to get rest on your right hand, and so you can have a good grip of the right hand. Then hold it tight. Then you have rest of your left hand, and then you grip properly. So everything had to be properly. If you made one slip, it's a question of rest and tension. Once you rest it properly, you can hold properly, grip. You have enough energy, Prana, Nadi, and Bindu, and everything. But you have to rest the other side of you at the same time. So that seems to be the whole basic point.
Thank you. Well, this might be twofold. First, how does the three energies relate to deities? Or how do the deities relate to the three?
To what?
How do deities relate to the three energies? Deities.
Oh, deities. Yeah. Well, I think the question of deity is not a particularly big deal, but three energies are the wiring system of the deities. That you have nadis all over the deity's body, and then you have electric fluid, then you have finally electricity itself to crank up deities. It's how our body works.
So the deities embody all three energies?
Well, deities are your world. It's you.
Right. Okay, well, the second part is, would there be any relationship between what do they call rajas, tamas, and sattvas in the Hindu system, the three basic energies?
Three what?
Rajas, three gunas.
Three gunas,
Yeah. But between that and these three energies.
Well, I think it seems to be structured in a slightly different way. Or maybe it's slightly still too much to say, too little to say. Yeah. And the question here is that based on the 5 Buddha principle energies, like the 3 guna principle, is that you have intellectual sharpness, that you have expansiveness, you have magnetization, you have fulfillment, you have your solidity and everything. That seems to be, goes with every practice of Tantrayana concerned. And that's almost, you can say that 3 gunas are almost replaced by 5 types of Buddha principles in the Buddhist tantric sense. It's a personality.
Could you tell me precisely where Anuttarayoga fits in to the 6 yanas of Tantra?
Anuttarayoga is the kind of bridge between the last 3 and the first 3 together.
So
and it is largely based on the practice that we do actually ourselves, our lineage does, like the Kalachakra, the Chakra Samvara, and the Grihastha, all the practices being done on the Anuttarayoga base, which is kind of sort of border level of experience, which brings together next yana and this yana together.
In the analogy of the track and the wheel and the radar system, what is the function of the radar system?
To get from somewhere to somewhere else.
Is it then like the engine?
What?
Is it the engine?
Well, there is some kind of engine, but that's not a particularly big deal. It's just a rolling wheel.
Is it then picking up the energy from around it?
Well,
and driving the wheel with it?
It's a relationship to the radar system, which transmit the power to the wheels to crank around, and also related to the tracks. So it's largely based on the radar system. It's kind of a space age railroad. Well, talking about the space, I think we should end our meeting tonight here, unless there are announcements that need to be made, and prepare for our next performance.
Excuse me, may I have your attention, please? We have several announcements.